Hello, everybody. This is Thomas Shifrer from ESFI World. I am with Michal, Carmac, Blicharz, and today we are going to be talking about the tournament director for ESL. He's going to be telling us everything about the upcoming IEM World Championships that are happening on March 5th, beginning March 5th next week, and running until March 9th. 2012 was a huge year for esports, especially games like League of Legends saw enormous growth. 2013 is looking to be even bigger with titles like Heart of the Swarm coming out in just a few weeks. So, put it in perspective for us. How much has IEM grown over this past year in 2012?
Actually, we we have grown a little bit, but the growth was 2 years ago. Actually, we had enormous growth. Let me put things into perspective. We've had 16 million sessions for an entire season until a few seasons ago, and now we have 16 million sessions per event, depending on events. Obviously, we had the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice tournament. We had 16 million sessions, which pretty much is the number that we accumulated over an entire season previously. So it's quite the jump, I would say, in general. But yeah, esports is growing. I think we're in a really good place right now as an industry with StarCraft 2 and with League of Legends. Obviously, League of Legends is really making a big difference here with the really big numbers, although StarCraft 2 also delivers numbers which I used to think were unattainable.
So, I mean, you say esports is in a really good place right now, but we're hearing the unfortunate news about IPL and stuff like that. Is that a sign of things just in the North American scene, or do you think that's a sign of the scene in general, or are you seeing things differently from Europe? Is that what you?
It's the So in general, we've got a big boom, and obviously there's going to be lots of people, lots of companies who will take risks, cut corners to make sure they are somewhere. Obviously, when it comes to IPL, as far as I know, and I'm not by any means an insider. As an outsider, I assume that they got purchased and the owners just had different plans, and this is why it was shut down. Um, so that's it. But are we still in a bubble to some extent? Yes, we are in a bubble to some extent. There are teams out there, there are entities out there in general in esports which will not withstand the test of time. It's simple as that. Um, what can we do? I mean, we can keep grinding out, and we're still in the survival of the fittest stage of esports, unfortunately.
All right, well, let's get back on topic to IEM World Championships and IEM in general. So you guys had a huge year, a lot of events. I should preface this by saying you're not allowed to pick Katowice, but in terms of IEM events this year, which has been your favorite?
Um, so Katowice, let's skip that because you requested that I don't. Couple of moments as an event. The second best event of the season was Gamescom. We had two really huge stages, and it was really nice as an event. We had lots of people sitting, the capacity crowd the entire time, and lots of good moments in both tournaments. Uh, I always enjoyed when players cry at our events because it means that the value of the event is more than just money, because players can win money at pretty much every event out there, but they don't necessarily weep at every single event. So when it comes to magnitude and how cool it was in general, Gamescom would be my pick. Although my favorite moment of the season overall, I think, was in Brazil, when we had team Keyed from Brazil playing LGIM. And obviously Brazilians are amateurs still, the ones that try very hard and want to be good at League of Legends, but I wouldn't bet my money on Brazilians playing against the Korean team. And they were getting totally destroyed the entire game, and then suddenly they won a crucial fight, and then they won another crucial fight, and then another, and then another, every single one by the skin of their teeth. And in the middle of the game, 500 Brazilians in front of the stage, suddenly they got up, they started singing, chanting. There's a song in Portuguese, it goes something like, "Oh, I'm a Brazilian and I'm proud of it," something like that. And the atmosphere was just amazing, because with every single kill, the audience would go wild. And towards the end of it, the place erupted when the Brazilian team actually beat LGIM. They started, celebrating like it's the World Cup victory.
Right.
It was just amazing. It's on YouTube. Everybody should probably look it up.
So I asked Kalaris this question when I talked to him yesterday. But how important is it, like, in terms, from your perspective, is it more, would you prefer to have a passionate crowd, like a Brazilian crowd or a Katowice crowd, or would you prefer to have, like, just the highest level of production, the best stream? I know in a perfect world you'd have both, but if you had to pick one or the other, which would you prefer?
It's a difficult question, but let me answer this. We actually go for both, depending on which event we go to. Some events we go for the highest possible production value that can compete with pretty much anyone out there when it comes to esports events, and we also go to places where people don't typically get to see these, pro gamers from Korea, pro gamers from Europe. The people don't typically get to meet Grubby, shake his hand, and things like that. So we get these big highlights like CeBIT World Championship, Gamescom, the opening event of the season. Katowice was a really big highlight with just lots of epicness. And then we get events like in Singapore, events like in Brazil, where we just, people come up to me all the frigging time and shake my hand and say, "Thank you for bringing this to my country." So this is kind of what we aim to achieve, to go and just let people enjoy esports with lots of passion, but maybe not as much high quality production. But you tend to see that these events, these smaller events, the people there tend to be more passionate because they don't get to experience this type of event every 2 months or so.
All right. So you made IEM and ESL made a lot of waves a few weeks ago when they decided that the StarCraft 2 championship would be played on the new Heart of the Swarm expansion and not Wings of Liberty. I know you've already touched on the controversy on Live on 3, so I'm not going to get into that. But from a spectator's perspective, what do you think HOTS is going to bring to the table next week?
I think lots of excitement, I would say, because at the end of the day, you've got these big names, really big names, MVP, MC, Nurcho, Stefano. You can name all of these amazing players. At least 12 of them are, deserving of a major championship. If not next week, then some other time.
Right.
And at the same time, we don't really know what's going to happen. So you're going to see, there's going to be lots of eyeballs on these players, on these big names, and at the same time, all these eyes will be curious. It's a fresh start. It's an evolution of StarCraft. It's a completely fresh start, and to me personally, it's exciting. It's exciting as hell to see what the strategies will be, how the players will adapt to, to the game. Some players, obviously, Wings of Liberty has been already a fairly old game, and some players have taken a really long time to get up to the upper echelon of players by very hard work, while others are very good at improvising and just innovating. So we will see again which ones, which players in the first, and I'm not saying just at CeBIT, but in the first few months of Heart of the Swarm, I think we will see which players are innovators and which players are those that the Russians typically call zadrot, meaning the guy that really practices a lot and copies strategies and perfects that, what he copies, and it gets better through that. So it's interesting to, because A, we don't know who's going to win. B, we see all these new strategies that are gonna kind of come up, tested in like real competition, not in show matches or events where there's not so much at stake. And three, we will see which players are innovators again, and maybe we will have a very surprising champion.
All right, so with that, let's put it out there. Who do you think is going to take each championship next week for StarCraft 2 and League of Legends?
I can't talk about these things. I'm not supposed to, right? I'm running the tournament. I represent the organizer, so I shouldn't have favorites in theory.
In theory.
In theory.
But as a spectator, if you were not the tournament organizer, just as a spectator, any picks at all?
Let's see. Okay, League of Legends. League of Legends Team EG seems to be on the rise.
Okay.
And I think Team EG would be right now the favorite to win the championship. But that's just theory, obviously. Gambit Gaming, more than anyone else, has shown that they're able to rise to the challenge when it really counts. What else? Who else? StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2, I would say MVP.
Okay.
MVP is all around the most solid guy.
Okay, well, there you go. So just in a few more general questions about IEM as a circuit this year. You went to Sao Paulo, like you mentioned, but you had besides some StarCraft 2 show matches, you just had a League of Legends only event sort of thing. Are these sorts of events going to be more common in the circuit next year? Are we going to see some maybe SC2 only events, or,
So next season, what we want to do is have more focus at events. So this season we had, including CBIT, 3 out of 6 events planned, which had 2 stages, 1 for each game. CBIT, by the way, the Intel Extreme Master World Championship, will have 2 stages of the same size for StarCraft and for League of Legends, so that's already a progression compared to last year. And we have events with 1 stage only. And I don't really know how to get these additional events to 2 stages, so that every event would have 2 stages for every game, except by getting a big bag of additional cash that we would want to spend on that. Barring that, I think the only solution here is to give more focus to our tournaments. For example, in Singapore, we had an entire day on stage for the playoffs in League of Legends until the tournament was over, and then on the Sunday we had the entire day on stage for StarCraft 2. This is something we've done in order to, when you come to one of these events and there's half of the time StarCraft 2, half of the time League of Legends, you come out 50% happy, right? I would rather specifically tell all StarCraft fans, guys, come on Sunday and enjoy yourself the entire day, and specifically tell League of Legends fans, hey, come on Saturday and enjoy yourself the entire day. The stage is for you. Although next season I do think we're going to have a couple of these single events. Brazil, we kind of tested the waters, how it would fit, and I do think the future is, even with these satellite events, to have focus and to have a focus on 1 stage, 1 game. No promises at this point. We haven't finalized anything, but this is kind of the direction I'm thinking.
Of course. So what is it about IEM that has allowed it to just have so much growth and so much success as an international tournament? And what constraints does that kind of put on you guys logistically? I mean, as a follow-up, I guess you could say, would you compare the IEM circuit to say an MLG weekend or a DreamHack weekend event? And what are the pros and cons do you find of IEM's format?
So the main difference between our format and the format of our other tournament organizers is that we typically take Intel Extreme Masters to an existing trade show, and we make it a part of the trade show rather than an event of its own. And this is basically comes from the history of Intel Extreme Masters, because we started in 2006, and at the time esports wasn't big enough to and wasn't mainstream enough. Social media wasn't as developed, publishers were not as interested, so it was difficult for us to or for anyone for that matter to get in touch with enough gaming fans to attract them to a standalone event of the size that we would want to have, because ESL has had events with a couple of 3,000 visitors, things like that, but we're talking about events of 30,000 plus is what we would ideally want to have minimum at a standalone event. So that's a historic kind of inheritance. And this also allowed us to have major presence for esports, to promote esports, like at Gamescom, like at a big game show. We've gone to E3, we've gone even to car shows, for example. In Montreal, there was an auto show where we had Intel Extreme Masters, I think 3 or 4 seasons ago. So that's kind of the main difference. That's the number one difference. Another difference is that we are the only tournament series out there that's really global, in the sense that we go to Asia, we go to North America, South America typically, although the last season we didn't go to North America. We go all over Europe. So that's a benefit and a downside as well, because obviously not everybody gets to say, hey, I've had an event in Singapore, or I've had an event in Taiwan, Dubai, Sao Paulo, anywhere. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we go to these places where the viewing times, most of the esports audience is actually North American and European, so the viewing times, when it comes to Twitch TV at least, are less than ideal. So not every single event we hit with the number of viewers that we would theoretically be happy with. In Europe, I mean, because generally we've had very good results overall. But at the same time, it's also a logistic difficulty for the teams. I mean, if you have 5 events for your favorite game in Europe as a player, why would you necessarily want to go to Singapore and spend more money to attend an event there if you have 5 events, $200 away from you, for example? So these are the pros and cons. However, I do feel like we have this uniqueness about us that we do get to go to all these places, and we do get to interact with fans pretty much from so many different cultures, and we give a chance to players from so many different cultures, so many backgrounds, so many geographies, that I honestly really love this aspect about Intel Extreme Masters. And I think it's unfair to compare, let's say, our Singapore event with any other event, simply because the idea behind the event is not to put up the ultimate esports show, but it's actually to promote esports in different parts of the world, and give a chance to people and give enjoyment to people who otherwise would never get it.
Right. Okay. Well, finally, one more question for you. What are you most excited to see next week? If you could sum it up into one thing.
I sound like a broken record, but I wanna see someone that cares so much about winning this tournament that he would really freak out and go crazy. Maybe cry, maybe, I don't know, do something. Like, what really gives me a positive buzz is when people actually show that they care enough to win a particular tournament, and the moments where you kind of try to vicariously share the triumph with them, where you see they're really happy, or they cry, they get touched. Um, Actually, my favorite moment of the season so far, and this ties into the what do I expect from CeBIT, is I spoke to Parting about Intel Extreme Masters online, somewhere on Skype, and he said, "Man, your trophy is so damn cool. That's the coolest trophy I can imagine. I want to win this trophy. I want to have my name on the trophy." And I screw the money. Obviously, he likes money, but he says, "Screw the money. I want the trophy." And that actually made maybe not even my day, my entire month. I was walking around with a smile on my face that somebody as accomplished as Parting would say something like that, and that means that. There is something unique and there is something special about Intel Extreme Masters that we have that makes it different from other tournaments, that allows us to, and the fans to enjoy a slightly different flavor of esports.
Well, that cup is definitely something, that's for sure. So, what's in the future for IEM? Anything exciting that you could maybe announce to us about next year's circuit?
So, you guys, ESFI, you guys are typically a North American website. So I'm just going to say we're coming back to North America next season.
That's excellent news.
I hope it is good news. So we're coming back to North America next season. We have not decided which games we will go with in general. We have not finalized which territories we're going to exactly, but 100% I can tell you we're going to a new country next season, at least one new country. What else can I say? Some of the good events that we've had last season we would like to repeat. But that's pretty much as I can say. We're going to keep working very hard. We're going to keep grinding away. We will certainly work closer with MLG and DreamHack this year, or at least we hope to. Obviously, it's not as easy as one side of the triangle wanting something badly. But I'm pretty confident that we will make things work, and to everyone's benefit, including or especially the fans.
Okay, well, that's all the questions we have for you. Any shout-outs, thank yous you'd like to give out?
I would just like to apologize for the way I look. Simply because I wasn't expecting a video Skype interview. I would have shaved for you and put on some,
That's all right.
some nicer clothing.
It's 12 o'clock here in the morning, so I'm not looking the best either.
Anyway, yeah, I would just like to thank from the bottom of my heart everyone that supports us and enjoys our event and takes the time to go and tell other people that they do enjoy them and that they should check it out.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time, Carmac. Thank you for this interview. If you want to stay tuned on ESFI World, for all next week, we'll be having coverage of the IEM World Championships running from March 5th to the 9th. Carmac, again, thank you for your time. And this has been Thomas Shiffer for ESFI World.